Esiet sveicināti raidījuma ciklā Uzzini pirms dodies droši darba ceļvedis Eiropā. Mani sauc Andris Segliņš, esmu Nodarbinātības valsts aģentūras Eures Eiropas darba konsultants un šī raidījuma cikla vadītājs. Raidījumos mēs apskatām jautājumus, kurus ir būtiski uzzināt pirms došanās uz ārvalstīm, kā par darba iespējām, darba meklēšanu dažādās Eiropas valstīs, darba līguma noslēgšanu, dzīvesvietu un citiem praktiskiem jautājumiem. Katrs raidījums ir veltīts vienai valstī, un šodien mēs runāsim par Īriju. Un uz sarunu esmu aicinājis Īrijas Nodarbinātības dienesta Eures Eiropas darba konsultanti Katrīnu Kiernenu. Hello, Catherine.
Hello.
I would like to start our conversation with an overview of the labor market situation in Ireland and what is the current situation in Irish labor market? What are the job opportunities and maybe in which sectors?
Okay, so Ireland is the westernmost country in Europe. We have a population of just over 5.2 million people, with 1.5 million of our people living in Dublin, which is the capital city. We've a very low unemployment rate here in Ireland at present at 4.2% as of June 2024. We have a young, highly educated workforce. English is the working language of the country. So if you were interested in coming here, it would be important to practice your English. We have national wage agreements in place in certain sectors, so you can't be paid below a minimum rate, and the national minimum wage at present is €12.70 if you're over 18 years. In 2019, fewer than 20% of Irish employees worked remotely, but by 2023, as a result of the COVID pandemic, this had increased to over 36%. And as of March this year, employees have a new legal right to request remote working. Now, this isn't a guarantee. An employer can refuse this based on business needs, but you do have a legal right to request it. Because our unemployment rate is so low, we have a wide range of vacancies available across a number of sectors here in Ireland at present. These include childcare, retail, financial accounting, in IT, analytical chemists, engineering, the health sector, and the social care sector. There's a lot of vacancies across these. With regard to occupations with increased demand, the hospitality sector has a large number of vacancies of every type, from management to administration to bar work to working in hotels in every capacity. The transport and logistics sector is also experiencing demand for HGV drivers and mechanics. There are a lot of vacancies in this industry at present. Manufacturing, there is a high demand for welders across the country, and also for CNC operators. Our government have huge housing and climate change targets. So because of this, the construction sector is a huge area of growth. So there's demand for professionals across every type of engineering, quantity surveyors, tradespeople of every description, down to basic labourers working on building sites across the country. So those are the major areas of recruitment here in Ireland at present.
Yes, you mentioned that you have many sectors which are with a lot of vacancies and you need a labor force. If somebody is looking for a job in Ireland, what is your suggestion? How and where to look for a job, and what are job search resources available?
Okay, so I suppose if somebody was thinking of coming to Ireland, or their first point of contact, we would advise them to contact the Eures advisor in their own country. They can be contacted through the Public Employment Service, and then once they would put you in contact with ourselves here in Eures Ireland. and we would be able to give you further information on Ireland. If you did come into the country, we have public employment services offices across the country. These are called Intrio centres, and there are approximately 60 scattered throughout the country. European nationals have free access to the services of the Irish Employment Service. So we have our own specific website, which is www.jobsireland.ie. And this will list vacancies across the country. It will also provide you with information on lots of advice on job seeking here in Ireland. You can register with private recruitment agencies here in Ireland. They are not allowed to charge you for the basic service of registering on their database. Agencies here must be licensed with our Department of Enterprise, Trade and Employment, and you can access a list of the registered agencies from this department. You could also send your CV directly to us at eures@welfare.ie, outlining the type of positions you would be interested in, and one of our advisors will get in contact with you and see if we have any employers who are currently recruiting in that area. There are a lot of different websites that have information on the different types of jobs available, and I'll be able to send on a list of these websites, and you will be able to show these to people that may be interested in seeking further information on jobs. There are also opportunities for internships possibly, or apprenticeships, and again, all this information is available through our Jobs Ireland website, and how you can access these and the different supporting bodies here within Ireland that can help you to access those opportunities.
Yes, one additional question. What role plays social networks in job search in Ireland?
Yeah, I suppose the biggest job search social network would be LinkedIn. It is utilised by a lot of the companies. They do what we call headhunting, where if you upload your CV and the type of jobs that the previous experience you have, the qualifications you have, companies will get in contact with you directly. A lot of recruitment companies may contact you directly on behalf of employers also, to see if you would be interested in certain vacancies.
Thank you. And when looking for a job in another country, then knowing foreign languages becomes vital. You already mentioned that working language in Ireland is English, and it's clear that if someone comes to Ireland, then knowledge of English is necessary. But I know that you have two official languages, English and Irish, and I would like to ask how important is to know maybe Irish, maybe in some regions it's some specific.
Yeah, so Irish, I suppose, is the cultural language of the country. Not everybody in Ireland speaks Irish. There are Gaeltacht areas. These are specific areas along the west coast, some up in County Meath, in Donegal and down in Kerry, where the people primarily speak the Irish language and Gaeilge. There are companies there that obviously would require the Irish language, and as a government department, we do have to offer our services through the Irish language, so we would have specific people within the department who can provide this service. But for someone coming in, everybody does speak English, and that is the spoken language of the majority of the country. And even in the Gaeltacht areas, the people all are able to converse in English.
Yes, thank you. And accepting English and Irish, maybe some other language could be useful for successful job search.
Absolutely. Companies are becoming more multicultural, and there's a lot of exportation. So foreign languages are a huge asset if you do have them, and it's very important that you would recognise your level of language ability on your CV so that employers become aware of this, as it is a huge selling point for you coming into the country.
Yes. Now let's talk about CV preparation. Well-prepared CV is crucial in job search. And what are your recommendations for preparation of CV for maybe for Irish labor market?
So for the Irish labour market, I suppose there is no set format of a CV required, but generally a CV should be maximum 2 pages long. You should give an account of yourself, your work experience, and your qualifications. So the general set out would be your personal information, your education, including the school that you attended and the dates that you attended, your work experience, starting from your most recent job, working backwards. And it would be also important to maybe include any volunteering work that you have completed. Your language skills, as we were just speaking about, is very important, especially if English isn't your first language, that you identify what language skills you do possess. An account of your hobbies and interests should also be included as part of your CV. There's no requirement here in Ireland to include a photograph with your CV or to include references with your CV. Often you will find references available upon request at the end of a CV here in Ireland. Again, I mentioned previously the jobsireland.ie website, and there's a full section there on CV preparation and giving you links to where you would find useful information in completing a CV to the Irish kind of standard.
I would like to ask additional question. Is an application or motivation letter usually required to be attached to CV?
Yes, so I guess if you're applying for a job here in Ireland, a lot of the times companies will have an application form and they'll ask you to fill it out. This form, it is quite widespread, the use of that here in Ireland, and they tend to follow a similar format where there'll be standard questions on your education, training, work experience, your hobbies and personal interests. So companies here, they kind of tend to like to get a view of the person, what your interests are outside of work, to see what that may add to the role and also to the culture of the company. Companies are starting to focus more on the individual, kind of the soft skills that they have and how it fits in with the culture of the company. And that's a big focus of companies at present. I suppose if an application form is the way of applying for a job, it is imperative that the application form arrives before the closing deadline. If an application form is received after that deadline, it may not even be considered. So it's very important to post it on time or email it within the time frame. If a company has requested a CV with application letter, generally this letter would be just one A4 page, a white A4 page, black template writing. Again, it should highlight your personal qualifications and experience specific to the role. Companies usually reply to these letters, and if you haven't heard back from a company within about 4 weeks, you could get back in contact with them to see what is the position of your application.
And one more additional question, is a Eiropā CV format widely used in Ireland?
It isn't widely used. We do see it coming in from time to time from people that have sent it on, and it can be used. It's not, but it wouldn't be the most prevalent used CV format here.
Thank you. If the job application is successful and the employer accepts the candidacy, the next step is to travel to Ireland. What registration procedures will be required upon arrival in Ireland?
If you're successful in getting the job, is it?
Yes. If you are already arrived in Ireland, what registration procedures will be required?
Okay, so to an EU national coming in, you would need a a personal public services number. So this is a PPS number. So you get that by registering on www.welfare.ie, or you can go into your local public employment service office, or Intrio centres, as I said, they're called here, and you can register for your personal public service number. You need to register for tax with our revenue service. It's www.revenue.ie, and they will give you a tax-free allowance certificate, which you need for your employer. And other than that, then you would most likely need to open a bank account here in Ireland. And to open a bank account, you will need an introduction letter from your employer with your exact details as they are on your passport. You will need your passport or driver's license as proof of your identification. And banks here require details of your Irish address. So this is usually in the form of a utility bill, a phone bill, or an electricity bill, or the likes. So that's kind of the general 3 things you would need for getting set up here. It's your personal public services number, your tax-free allowance certificate, and your bank account.
Yes. And when we start employment, an employment contract should be concluded. What forms of employment contracts are legal in Ireland, and what information and working conditions have to be included in the employment contract?
Okay, so here in Ireland, there's legislation, the Terms of Employment Information Act, which requires employers to provide an employee with a written statement of certain particular terms of their employment. This has to be provided within 2 months of you starting your employment. The maximum amount of time an employee should work should be 48 hours per week. The working week can be averaged out over a 4-month period to ensure that you're within the 48 hours. You're entitled to different rest periods through the day. So in general, you should get 11 hours consecutively off. You get a 15-minute break if you work 4.5 hours in the day, and a 30-minute break if you work for 6 hours. If you work on a Sunday, you may agree for an extra entitlement to pay from your employer. Under our legislation, if there's no agreement about your pay, your employer must give you a reasonable allowance, a pay increase, or additional time off work. With regards to working overtime, which is working time over and above your normal working hours, employers aren't obliged to pay you for this extra time, but in general, they will include this within your terms of employment, and this is usually a higher rate of pay. Your contract should state whether you're required to work overtime, and if you are required, the rates of pay that will be applicable. With regards to annual leave, the basic annual leave allowed is 4 weeks paid leave within the year, so that's 20 days. Most employers will provide over and above this, but this will be included in your contract. In addition to this, there are 10 public holidays here in Ireland throughout the year, including times at New Year's, Christmas, New Year. We have our national holidays, St. Patrick's Day. Then we have holidays in May, June, and August. Most employees are entitled to this day as a leave day. However, if you are required to work, you would get a day in lieu and additional pay for the day. And under the national pay agreements, the minimum wage here in Ireland is €12.70 per hour if you are over 18, and that rate came in this year, and it tends to move up annually based on the budgets, but at the minute it's €12.70 minimum wage.
Yes, thank you for useful information. You already mentioned in the beginning of our conversation about national minimum wage, maybe just repeat what is the current minimum wage in Ireland hourly, as I understand, hourly rate you have.
Yeah, so it's an hourly rate of €12.70 per hour. And the national wage only applies if you're over 18.
Thank you. When we are going to another country for work, of course, finding of accommodation is also another important issue. And what are your recommendations about how and where to search for housing in Ireland?
Okay, so first of all, I suppose housing in Ireland is one of our biggest issues. Demand totally outranks supply at the minute, but there are houses available. There's apartments for rent and houses for rent. If you are coming to rent in Ireland, a landlord would usually require 1 month's rent in advance. They usually require you to sign a 1-year lease agreement that you will stay in the accommodation for 1 year, and rental agreements are a legally enforceable contract here in Ireland. So often people that come maybe share accommodation, so they'll move into a house and rent a room with other people. So the main resource for checking out accommodation availability here in Ireland is a website called www.daft.ie, daft.ie. Within this website, you would be able to filter on the location, the types of accommodation, be it an apartment, a house, or a house share. But again, accommodation prices are quite high in Ireland. In Dublin, for example, a 1-bedroom apartment, you could be expecting to pay at a minimum €1,200 per month. For a 2-bed apartment, the minimum you would be paying in Dublin would be maybe €1,400 per month. Whereas for a share accommodation, you would be paying maybe €600 to €700 per month if you were sharing with somebody. Now, obviously, there are more rural areas within Ireland where the accommodation price would be perhaps cheaper, but there is a supply issue. So like rental accommodation in Ireland is expensive. There's no getting away from it. But I guess if you were successful in getting employment here, it would be important maybe to speak to your employer, as they may have accommodation available, or they may be able to point you in the direction of somebody who has reasonable accommodation. And also you can contact us at the Eures service and we will help you with local areas and local links to accommodation. But daft.ie would be the main resource used by everybody across the country for searching for accommodation.
Yes, thank you for practical information and also some examples of costs. Is it usual practice that Irish employers provide or help to find accommodation for foreign candidates?
It's very dependent on the employer. Some employers have that facility available to them. Some of the bigger employers may have houses that they allow for house shares, but it's just totally dependent on the employer. And like some of the hotels, maybe, for example, would have staff accommodation. But I suppose at the minute, even those accommodations are nearly all at capacity because we just have such a shortage in the country.
Thank you. You mentioned some examples of prices for accommodation. Maybe you can also mention some examples for daily costs of living in Ireland.
Okay, so I suppose first of all, in the Mercer's 2023 survey, Dublin was identified as maybe the 51st most expensive city to live in with cost of living in the world. Accommodation will obviously take the biggest chunk of your wage, but for a typical shopping basket type experience of day-to-day goods that you would be buying maybe here in Ireland, I'm just going to give you an example of some of the prices that we would have. So for a dozen eggs, for example, you would be paying maybe €2.70. For bread, a loaf of bread between €2 and €5. for a litre of milk, the approximate price would be €1.15 to €1.30. A bottle of wine on average would start from around €10. Breakfast cereal, you could be paying around €4 to €4.50 for a box of perhaps cornflakes. A cup of coffee, an Americano, you'd be paying maybe €3 minimum, and to cappuccino, a latte would be up on €4. Then if you decided you wanted to go out for a 3-course meal, the prices would range from between €30 to €60, depending on the type of restaurant you were going to.
Yes, thank you for this information. And at the end of our conversation, I would like to ask a question. Why should someone choose Ireland as a destination country?
I suppose, like, the thing about Ireland is there's a high quality of life here. The people are friendly. We have beautiful landscapes. There's a rich culture. Our economy is thriving. It's fast-paced. There's a lot of job opportunities. Many of these jobs are well paid. So although our cost of living is quite high, the wage level reacts to this in many of the places. Our educational opportunities exist because we have great universities and colleges here with a number of study options available to those who are working and who want to continue their studies. With regard to the lifestyle, our cities are vibrant, they're multicultural, they're welcoming. We have a lot of outdoor activities. We have the Wild Atlantic Way, we have the Ancient East. There's loads of opportunities to develop outdoor activity skills. We have a lot of music and arts derived from the Irish culture. There's festivals taking place up and down the country throughout the year. So it's a great place to live and to have an all-over experience. And I suppose one of the big things is Ireland is the 3rd safest country to live in the world, and it's one of the happiest countries to live in. So it offers, I suppose, if somebody's looking for an opportunity and willing to experience a new culture, Ireland is a great place to come and experience that.
Thank you. I will say one more time, thank you for conversation and useful information. Un paldies teikšu arī mūsu skatītājiem par to, ka pievienojāties un noskatījāties mūsu raidījumu. Ja ir kādi papildus jautājumi par darbu meklēšanu citās Eiropas valstīs vai par pabalstu eksportiem, sociālo drošību, starpvalstu nodokļu jautājumiem, tad aicinu vērsties pie Nodarbinātības valsts aģentūras Eures konsultantiem. Un vēlreiz paldies visiem un uz tikšanos nākošos raidījumus. Visu labu!